Welcome everyone here. I'll share my screen even before we do any intros here, just so we can have something to look at. But thank you guys first and foremost for joining our monthly featured product here. As you can see, it's from Hire to Highway. Now, before we dive into all that, because there is much to talk about today, just want to do some quick introductions. My name is Miles Sexton. I'm an account manager here at Tenstreet. Some of your names that I see flowing into the attendees list here are familiar to me, so hello and welcome. And to those of you that I'm unfamiliar with, I've been with Tenstreet for about 5 years, been an account manager for about 3.5 of those, but very happy to be here today and showing you some of the new tools we got here. And Allison, want to do your intros here?
Thank you, Miles. Hey there, my name is Allison Plotko. I am also on the account management team. I've been here about 4 years. And yeah, we're excited to show you some of the new stuff we have around our safety tools today.
Beautiful, beautiful. All righty. So part of this walkthrough today, just so you guys are aware, we will have some of it that is in this PowerPoint here, just to give you a good spiel, good background. Then from that, we will go into a live demo for a majority of the remainder. But just so you guys know, the purpose of this and our safety updates here are to centralize your driver records. So we're going to help you maintain recruiting, onboarding, and safety files in one unified platform that especially stems from our Tenstreet assistant that we'll be walking through today. And in doing that, we'll be replicating information collected through applications in safety files. That way there's less clicking. It kind of removes that manual data re-entry in there. It also just streamlines your workflows. So whether it's a seasoned vet in there or someone who might be new to the whole safety and compliance side, even the recruiting side, we make it a little bit easier, takes a little bit of thought out of it, if you will, but in a very advantageous way, so that our system is reviewing information on your behalf. There's always going to be a human intervention on everything we have here in Tenstreet. So even if there's an AI helping you out, it's going to go to the human to make sure that everything is correct nonetheless. But that's just a quick overarching view of it. Now, some of the features we'll be covering in today's call. Don't worry, we're not going to go into crazy depth on all of these because I know there is a lot here. But we'll definitely be going over that Tenstreet assistant, both from the DQF AI triggers all the way down to what higher rate MVRs look like coming back in, even talk about recommended trainings. From there, we'll be going through a couple different things from the events side. So putting in accident claims, incident claims, violations, how you can manage claims on a fleet-wide level. We'll be closer to the end of the call, but we're also going to work through what the equipment side has to offer with the new updates in there. We're going to also go through the Reach 24 integration a bit. That just ties into how the pieces of equipment are analyzed in your dashboard now. So that's a beautiful, exciting integration we have as well. And from there, Allison, you want to start us off on Tenstreet Assistant here?
Absolutely. So we were also going to touch on, like Miles said, we'll go a little bit more in depth on the Tenstreet Assistant, more from the safety management side, so post-hire, and automating some of those key steps of your hiring and safety, especially when you're handing off from one team to another. That can be really a crucial time to keep the ball rolling. We'll go over some DQF document reviews when a driver is uploading new documents. And then when some of those reports come back into the dashboard, how you can get notified and review, take actions as needed based on the results of those reports. And then a nice little touch there is this recommended training, which I'll talk more about once we get into the tool. And then the last part is just some safety management updates. We have a new safety management summary, which is really awesome. Seasonal courses and auto-assigned training. Some of you are probably already familiar with the auto-assigned training, also known as infraction action. We've also added a new section for seasonal courses. So think winter training, things like that. And then lastly, we'll just some equipment access and pre-hire support updates, some new ways that you can give specific access to users for your equipment side of the dashboard.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, thank you. And yes, and in there, I'll obviously be covering the claims management and event updates in there. So how to tie events to pieces of equipment, especially if no driver may have been involved. Sometimes there's non-roadway events, or maybe acts of God, as some people like to refer to them as. We've also updated the cost field in there. I'm very excited about that because I do the Safety 101 webinars every month, and that's something that I often get questions on. You'll see what I mean by that, but keep that in mind. We'll also be going over driver submission of events. That'll be kind of one of the first things we see when we get to the event side. We'll also go over importing accidents, incidents, and violations. And like I said there, that Reach 24 integration. But without further ado, we're going to dive on into the demo here, and let me get our dashboard brought up. Allison, I'll let you start us off.
Perfect, thank you. So as you can see, Miles has got our Tenstreet Assistant dashboard open here. Miles, do you want to show how you got to the Tenstreet Assistant and the couple ways that you can get there?
Yeah, sure thing. So if you guys are first logging into Tenstreet, you may not see this as a homepage option for you. Typically, people see either Express Lane in there as one of your default options, or even the reporting tab in there. Being that we're in the Tenstreet test dashboard, we don't really have the option to go into those. But if you don't have it as a homepage option in there, no worries. It still should be in your dashboard under Tools, and it is its own separate tool in there called the Tenstreet Assistant. Looks like this little laptop icon there. So you can click into it that way as well. Brings you to the same exact information. We just happen to have it up on the homepage as well here. And if you ever do want to add it, I didn't mention this, it's good to mention, there's a little pin icon. Right now we have it pinned. If it has a line through it, it's already on your dashboard, but if not, and you click it, it'll unpin it from your option of home pages.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so now that we know how we got there, just to start off, the top of your Tenstreet Assistant, underneath there, we're just showing some of the filters. Right now we have it collapsed, but to the right, there's a Show Edit Filters button where you can filter down what type of users, work lists, statuses, things like that. You can kind of filter down what you'd like to see here. I usually am keeping that just collapsed so it's not taking up my screen. And then if we scroll on down, these are all of the triggers that have some sort of task or action tied to it. So we're gonna go over a couple of the more safety focused triggers. And one of those I had mentioned before was a document upload. So in this specific example, this first one for Murphy Law, the driver went into their Pulse account, their driver Pulse account, and they uploaded a new CDL. Now, what you can do when a new document like this gets uploaded is, first of all, trigger a notification to your team. You probably want a team member to review that document and make sure it's been classified in their DQF, their expiration date is set. And that would be a good example for using the Tenstreet Assistant. So not only just review the document, but then what next steps need to happen? Let's assume that this is a hired driver, they're at a post-hire status. If they're suddenly sending you a new CDL, this might mean for your team, it's time to run a new NVR. If that's part of your process, that would be a great next suggested action to tie into this Pulse document upload for a CDL if the driver is at a hired status. You can have conditions like that set up for the Pulse uploads to make sure that you're only going to get the suggestion if they're already in a hired status. And then you could go into that configuration, which we'll take you in there real quick and look at. And then we have this document upload, and then you'll see there's some if-then logic, and then it says if it's a CDL copy, you could also add in there and say and hired as a status. You'll have your user confirm it, and then they could also add that additional step of running a process. So Miles is showing you if you wanted to add the status there, you could certainly do that. And then there's also the different processes. I think you have to add the and to that.
Oh, but, yeah, you know what? You're 100% right.
You're good. Yep. So you just fit the little puzzle pieces together. And yeah, so if we went in there and said, we want it to be a CDL copy when the driver is in a hired status, you can multi-select. So if you guys have several active statuses that would apply here, that's an option. Yep. And then you could have additional actions. So for instance, if we wanted to reclassify the document, you could do that, or we could run a process. When you click that, you'll be able to go into your process menu dropdown, and whatever you need to order from here, you could do. So if you wanted to go ahead and order your MVR package, you could do that. If you wanted to assign this to just specific users in your dashboard, maybe this is safety managers or processors, you could do that as well. And then if you just want to leave a little hint at the bottom, that's what that explanation is for. So it will pop up in that recommended next step, and then it'll just give them a little blurb of what you're hoping for here and maybe the reasoning for it. And all just things to help with consistency and predictability for your team, all with keeping it centralized in one place. So that was the document upload. And then of course, you'll be able to view the document and everything like that. So A couple other triggers in here I want to talk about. We also have this hire right MVR received. So kind of going down the funnel here, we've got a new CODL, we ordered our MVR. Now I want to be notified when that MVR returns. That's also a trigger that we have available so that you guys will get notified and you'll be able to view that MVR. It will read the document from hire right. And if there's any discrepancies, it will call that out for you guys. And then if we need to update any of the driver's information, it will suggest running that confirmation IA. So then we can get the signatures, get their profile up to date, and get them squared away.
Beautiful. And one thing I will add on that, just because I I ran into this earlier today when I was playing around with this a little bit more. But if you haven't updated anything on the driver's application, it will stop you. It'll say, hey, no information's been updated recently. Feel free to go in to update info on the driver's profile, and then you can go and send that confirmation IA. So it even has fail safes in that regard.
Perfect. Thank you. Last one I want to talk about, a newer one, is the recommended training. I don't have any queued up here in the triggers, but if you would go into the configuration for me and then the information tab next, we have this piece called recommended training. Essentially, it's looking back in the last 90 days of your CSA infractions or your telematics data that's come through, and it's suggesting additional training as a fleet. So if something has been a reoccurring issue, it's going to start recommending training to specific drivers, assuming they haven't already completed that training module in the past 30 days. So this runs in the beginning of the month because it's going to look backward to see, hey, what was a reoccurring violation, infraction, any kind of hard braking or things like that. And it's going to suggest some training for the team. So that's one of the newer ones. Right now, the next step for that is review which driver that you're getting the notification for, and do you want to send this training? What I like about this is sometimes you do want to just review the training before it goes out. So if you don't want it to go out automatically all the time, what's nice about this is you do have that human intervention to make sure, hey, I've already really, harped on this guy a lot last month. I'm going to give him a break, So you can kind of take this as a step-by-step review process and just make sure that you're sending that to who you want it to go to. So that is the recommended training.
Beautiful.
Anything you'd like to add there, Miles?
Nothing particularly on that, but one thing I will say, that does bring up a smooth little transition into the events side, because we know obviously recommended trainings are good for helping prevent anything bad from happening in the future. But before I dive into events, did you have anything else you wanted to add on Tenstreet Assistant there, Allison?
I think I'm good. Thank you.
All right, beautiful. Yeah, no problem. So obviously, this is a wonderful, wonderful tool here. Thank you very much for going through that. Where we're going to go into now, though, kind of using that recommended training and seasonal training as a little bit of a segue, we're going to go into the events side. Now, before I go into what it looks like on the driver's profile or even the fleet-wide view, because some of it may be a little bit review for you guys if you've either been to our user conference or even if you're just familiar with Tenstreet and safety management as a whole, some of this might seem a bit like review. But a lot of it does have new added features in there. So I'll go through that right now. But I want to start on a driver's profile. Here we have wonderful Murphy Law here in all of his glory. But the reason why I wanted to start on that driver's profile is, let's say this driver did get in an accident and he wants to alert you guys as a company that, hey, I got in an accident, but I'm also doing the proper steps to make sure that I am safe and any other third parties who may have been involved are also safe. To do that, he can just bring up Driver Pulse. He can go into his company. Right now, we're in the Tenstreet demo company. But instead of being in a, goodness, you know what? Let me make sure he is in a proper hired status. This is actually a good little example here that driver does need to be in a hired status in order to have access to this. So no Joe Schmo can go in there and start adding in events. But once we get that saved in there, we'll go back into Mr. Murphy Law here, into Tenstreet demo. That should have refreshed, and now we should have, let me log back in there. We're going to have a safety specific tab that's in there for Tenstreet demo. As you can see, it's in there now. No, that's demo-tastic here. But under Tenstreet demo, we will have the safety specific tab that's going to go in there. Just for the sake of time here, I will show you on demo-tastic because we love technical difficulties. But in here, you can go in and add driving events as a driver. being that he's hired for multiple companies, that is showing up the way it is. But he'll just go in and create a new driving event here. And now in here, it's going to obviously ask him who he is, make sure that he confirms the last four of his social. But this is where it's going to start a little bit familiar to you guys if you've ever added an accident, incident, or violation on a driver's profile, because it's very similar buttons that you can press. We'll say Murphy got in an accident today. He can submit that accident. Now that's as simple as that. That will create a empty accident detail, event detail on that driver's profile that you can go in there and start editing. You'll also get notified of that if you're the assigned safety trainer, if that driver's assigned to you as a recruiter or a processor, or even if you have the Tenstreet assistant triggers set up for that, that can notify you that that driver did get in an accident. Now that's fantastic. However, that driver can still open up that accident and start doing various steps in there to provide more information for you. So first and foremost, there's essential information in here. And you may notice there used to be, and there still is, the option to send out checklists to drivers after they get in an accident, incident, or violation. This is taking those checklist assignments and automatically assigning them to the driver whenever they send this your way. So they will be able to go in and add accident location, driver information, cargo info, who's your driver manager, all the nitty gritty that you need. And this is just one of the forms. This is just the essential information. Fun fact with this is actually one of the other new safety related tools. It's also recruiting related, but our new voice bot tool is something that's coming out. It's an AI voice bot. It allows drivers and applicants to speak into their phone when filling out a form rather than having to click into the fields and type them. And it's a huge upsell right here because, as you could probably imagine, this driver's probably on a busy roadway. So he can go and bring this up, use voice bot so he's not burying his face in a phone on the side of I-90. He can at least speak to that phone, get that proper information added in there while still remaining vigilant and alert of all traffic conditions as they may change, especially if this is a winter-related incident. So just wanted to show that on this side. Now, one thing else I will mention here, I'm going to talk to it a little bit more when it comes to the equipment side, but drivers, you can now, if you just let us account managers know what statuses you want this to be allowed in, if you're talking to an applicant and there may be an owner operator, they'll be able to send in their pieces of equipment in the same manner that we just did this with driving events. So if you did ever want your owner ops, especially your candidates there, to start sending in their pieces of equipment, they can sync it in their polls profile so that it shows up in your dashboard as well. It'll also only be assigned to that driver. But in order to set that up, just let us know as your account managers. We can make those statuses more applicable to you. But so just to show you that immediate side here, we're going to actually bring up Murphy Law. And being that I added in that accident on a different dashboard, just for the sake of time here, it's not going to show up here in the safety management view when we go into the events. However, when you go into the events on a driver side here, some updates that we added in. I'll just get an event going here for you so we can get that loaded up. There we go. It won't restore the record for Murphy Law because he is one heck of a menace. So now a lot of this is still the same as it was. You know, the same layout. This may look very similar to you. Only two required fields are date and time of accident and the type of accident or incident. Now, where I want to show you some new upgrades that we have in here actually lies in the costs field. So as you can see, it looks a little bit different optically if you're familiar with this page. There's actually dollar signs associated with this. And a beautiful thing is the total costs. They all accrue. It's a beautiful thing. I have notes here to pause for applause, but I just know you guys are cheering. No need to try to unmute and applaud for us. That was something I was hoping for a long time, so I'm happy that's there. Some other cool things we've added in here. We've added reasons for costs, so it's not just a blank number. There's at least a story behind it. If you're ever a golfer, they always say there's no photos and no pictures on a scorecard, so you can't say how good it was or how crazy something was on a certain hole. You can at least type out what happened for these certain circumstances. So if you did have a third-party cost, you can type in that reason, and same with miscellaneous costs in there and unit costs. Other things we added in here are claims. So I know this will kind of tie into claims management here in a bit, but insurance claims are huge when it comes to accidents. So you can put in the adjuster's name, the coverage type, even in here. So let's say this is commercial auto, claim status, it's still open. Now, what's a huge benefit with this is you can start tracking, you know, the dollars spent and incurred, I should say, throughout all this, but it'll also tell you how long it's been open for, how many days it's been since your last payment, and the year that it happened in. because we know with accidents, with really anything in this industry, we always know takes time, especially insurance related claims, unless someone's asking you for money. That's always immediate, but this is where you can at least track that. It keeps it under that one umbrella for you in one event detail. So that way, if any updates do happen, you can always come back into this, edit it. And a beautiful thing about this, whether it is on your accident report or just the list of events that we have that are saved in Tenstreet on a fleet-wide view, this information is already updating on that fleet-wide view as well. Now, I don't want you to immediately think that that is an update of a company record per se, but what that does allow for is in the event of audits or maybe internal reviews where you do need to start accruing how much money was spent on accidents in a given time period throughout all of your hired drivers, or maybe even drivers in a particular work list, you can start accruing that data a lot easier now. So you're not hunting and pecking, if you will, throughout driver files just to accrue. It'll automatically do that for you. So I'm very excited about that. As you could probably tell, I've said it about 4 times now, but I always like to make note of that here. So outside of that, another thing that we did with events in general is we actually updated how you can add events and what you can add events to. So what I mean by that is obviously you've always been able to add events to a driver's profile, whether that be an accident, incident, or violation, but you can also add standalone events to pieces of equipment now. So if you ever did have that act of God, or maybe something that's yard related where no driver was necessarily at fault, but maybe a mechanic scraped the side of a trailer, or the paint job on your truck, you name it, you don't really want to attribute that to a driver if a driver wasn't at fault. So we can avoid that now by just adding events to pieces of equipment. So I'll go into the equipment tab here. As you can see, there's a little harken to our reach integration, but in order to put an event on a piece of equipment, you just go into the list tab here, and we'll say this Freightliner T200 is what we're going to add an event to. So this is the typical event or equipment detail, I should say. But as we scroll down, you'll notice that 4 of these tags are familiar, and the events tab is actually new. So this is where you can go in there, add an event to a piece of equipment here. It's once again accident, incident, or violation. We'll say this was an accident here. Then the same logic applies. Date and time of accident, date and time of accident and incident is in there. You can add points to it, track the status of it, just like you could before. If other pieces of equipment were involved, maybe it was a tractor and a trailer, and you want to sync it up to both of them, adding in that additional piece of equipment here, we'll put this event on them as well. You can put in accident details, whether it was hazmat in a commercial vehicle, subject at fault, so the same bread and butter that you're used to there, even an accident class of what might have happened. Hit fixed object turning. And then similarly, the cost is in there, third-party vehicle driver information is in there if needed, and even road conditions, which typically wouldn't come into play here unless this is something that happened while maybe a driver was parked at a rest stop or on the side of the road. Life does happen, so we still have all those options for you in there. And for this, let's just say this is another $800 fee, and we'll save that accident. So I want to take a very quick pause. Allison, do you see any questions or anything that might have come in regarding anything we've talked about so far before I continue?
Not yet. You're good.
Beautiful. All right. We will keep it chugging here. So those are equipment events in there. Some other updates that we made in here. We know that with equipment information, and also, like I said before, how you're going to be able to have owner operators sending in their pieces of equipment from Driver Pulse in here. So it's also saved to your list of equipment. We know that that's a lot of sensitive information to a lot of parties that are involved with it, and you maybe don't want everyone in there clicking around, playing around with things, because it can happen. It's a software, we get it. So because of that, we have actually added in read-only access to this side of the dashboard, to the equipment side. So if you ever need someone to be able to access this information, but you don't want them to have the power to edit it, we can do that now. Before it was kind of an end-all be-all, where if they had access to equipment, they had all access, but now it's either read-only or they have full access. And that's bound to change if we find any other suggestions. Mind you, all of these new features have been suggestions by clients at one point or another, so feel free, keep them coming. This is why we keep doing user conferences, because of those suggestions. So with that, I did want to make mention of our Reach 24 integration here. So what that is, that's allowing us to display more accurate information on your homepage. It looks very familiar to what you may have seen there before, but now being that it's powered by Reach and their AI servers, it is working overtime for you, if you will. So the second any updates happen, it's not waiting on a various time frame to check for any updates. That's updating automatically. That way, if you do need to run any sort of internal audit, once again, or external, it's going to be more reliable information in here. So that really is the long and short of our Reach integration in there, but I didn't want to go too far into the weeds on that because we do have more to cover. That is for sure. But alrighty, so that is the equipment side. Just as a quick refresher, we can add in pieces or add in events on pieces of equipment. The events in general have been refurbished, so you can add in additional costs, claim information, and that will reflect more on the fleet-wide side. And drivers can enter in their own events now as well as they see fit. Now, moving away from that, I will go back into the fleet-wide view here. And one thing I will mention, and you may notice it may have been the first thing you noticed when we went into our call today, that the safety tab here it has its own separate tab rather than having to go into tools and safety management. That is our new view of safety in here. You can pin it to this tab or this tool bar if you need to, or if you like going into the safety management tool, you can do that as well, but we added this as an option for you. So if you want that, once again, let your account managers know. But starting off on the safety summary tab in here, it's another new tab. Allison, you want to take that away?
Sure. I'm actually going to circle back for just a second back to equipment. There was a question in the chat that came up about running a report to see the cost of damage that you can run.
Yes.
Did you want to touch on that? Is that directly out of the equipment side, or could you see that in the safety management unassigned?
Yes. Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So you can get your own reports in here. Similar to reports just on the Express side of the dashboard, we can create reports for you guys in here. And especially with our Reach 24 integration, we're actually going to be moving and focusing more on that, getting a little bit more robust with our report catalog moving forward. But as for right now, and especially in the dashboard we're in, the best bet for that, for gathering any sort of report along those lines, would be in the safety side. And we'll cover it here in a second in a little bit greater detail. But ultimately, events or even the accident registry is a good one for that. You can get costs to accrue on these reports, so that would be your best bet. And you can even do them in date ranges, especially with the view edit filters. But as of right now, this safety management tool will be the best bet for doing that, whether it be in events that you're wanting to gather it from or just accidents in particular with accident registry. But ultimately, we will add more reporting options as time goes on as well. So fantastic question there.
Yeah, and that can also be exported to CSV. So if you need to pull that out into Excel, you can do that as well.
Beautiful.
From that screen. Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Well, that brings us into the safety summary. So this is going to be a newer tool available to those with safety management silver or gold. If you're not sure which you have, go ahead and reach out to us at account.managers@tenstreet.com. We'll be happy to help. And so this is essentially what we're trying to do is just give you a summary of all of your pieces of safety as a fleet-wide view, rather than having all those individual tabs like we've had for a long time. You can see now that we're scrolling down, we have it kind of broken down into tiles for each. And this gives you just a brief summary, and this is interactive. In each of those, you can click on it. It will open up additional details. So if you wanted to see, for instance, if you wanted to click on, your files completed or something like that, it will pull you into it and take you to where you wanted to go. Back to the safety summary. It also is configurable. So next to the top there where it said CSA monitor and there's those little gray squares, you can drag and drop these sections. So if CSA monitor is not top of mind for you, you are all DQF all the time, that might be the one that you want to see when you first log in here. You don't want to scroll for it. So this is all drag and drop, super easy. And then of course we have the interactive portion. So you can just click and it'll jump you to where you need to go, super easy. So yeah, all of those cards will have additional details, and this should just make things a little bit easier to glance at, a bird's eye view.
Yeah, beautiful. Now with that, one thing I will touch on in there, let me go back to the summary view in here. What I did click on there, you might have noticed, is the DQF review tab. It's also just found in DQF in and of itself, but DQF review, that's something that we did touch on before with the uploaded document section of Tenstreet Assistant. Now, it is also accessible over here. And what DQF review will entail for you guys is an AI bot that'll review documents, make sure there's no discrepancies or no inconsistencies with them. It'll send it off to your team to be reviewed as well. So the DQF item review tab in here, just to give you an example, let's see what James Franco has sent in for us. Review status is still in pending. Now with this, we don't have the AI fully turned on in here because this is a test dashboard, and boy, it would be steaming through its ears with the amount of test documents we throw through here in a given day. But it will do the initial review for you. So this is where the AI will start answering in. So it'll say if there's an exception noted, that means you need to look into that a little bit more. Maybe there's no exception on certain items. Maybe certain items aren't applicable or are exempt if there's a data field that's missing, say from a med certification, and maybe it knows that it needs to be in there. It will indicate that it is exempt. Now, the second review, that's going to be by your team member. This is the human intervention piece of it in here. So this is where you can say, hey, yeah, I agree. There was an exception noted. Let me write a note on that. Or maybe there was one that the AI didn't pick up. That's the purpose of human intervention in there, just to make sure that all bases are covered. So this does allow you to not only have essentially Tenstreet and compliance logic on your side when it comes to filling this all out, but it's also on your team's side. So no one feels like they're alone out there. There will be those AI bots that are essentially adjudicating their entire process. And now after that, just wanted to touch on that one piece. We do have more event information to share with you guys. That is where a lot of our updates have happened here as well. So just want to show you the fleet-wide view of this. Going through it, you can edit this events view. You can also view different filtered information in here, whether you just want to see accidents, incidents, or violations, what status they're in, what date range you want to look back, work list, and event links, all things you can search on in here. We will collapse those now, but you can also just edit the events view in general. So it may look different for you now already. Right now we have some items in here such as truck number, trailer number, claim number, event number, total cost, you name it. I'll take those out. I'll put in the work list and the status in there just so we can see some basic info. And let's do truck number as well. You can even add tags in here. So let's say we want to see someone with a needs training ASAP tag. That'll probably reflect as to why they have that tag as well if they're showing up in this event view. But this will break down all events that fit the bill for that. It'll show you total costs accrued in there, how many individual points were assigned. Now, these aren't those CSA points. This is something that we do talk about ad nauseum, so I apologize if this is a review for anyone, but for those of you who do not know, you can assign internal points, such essentially scorecard points on a driver if they do have any accidents, incidents, or violations in there. They do decay at the same rate as CSA points, but though they are not actual CSA points. But this report will reflect that as well. So it gives you a good idea of, hey, it looks like Tara Bush does have an accident. There's 3 points on there, needs a police report still. So if you ever needed to go in there, this is your one-stop shop to go in and edit those fleet-wide accidents, incidents, and violations. And as we scroll closer to the bottom here, just wanted to show you, this goes on for a long, long time. So we have these filters very, very minuscule right now, but this is a report that as of right now, it is not fully exportable, but it will be very, very soon. That's something I actually did ask about recently. So we will be able to export this view if need be, because the benefit of this, it's essentially similar to your accident registry, but it's just for all events rather than only accidents. So we have heard that already. So that is something you will be able to do here shortly. Just in this demo view, it's not something we're able to do currently. Now with that, using that as a beautiful little segue to the accident registry in here, this is something that is exportable, always has been in there. But as I said earlier, this will update. So anything we added today in here, say for example, for Murphy Law, he is now going to be in this accident registry list as well. But like I said, we do enter a lot of information in this, so he's closer to the bottom there. But this allows you not only to export that information, but you can once again view and edit filters, search within certain date ranges, search for specific DOT numbers as well. Maybe not all of you on the call, but definitely some of you have multiple DOT numbers in your dashboard. So if you need to add additional in there, or if you're maybe seeing this and you only have one and you think, oh my God, I need to add in that additional DOT, let your account management team know, account.managers@tenstreet.com. That's the best email to reach us, and we'll be able to help you out there. You can also see for those that are only DOT recordable or just all accidents that are in here. So helps you not only see what is essentially affecting that CSA score, but also just tells you what all you need to see in here. It breaks it down by a little bit greater detail than we were seeing on the events view. You can see the hour it happened, the date it happened, the street it was on, but this is listing out essentially just details from those accidents. Typically, we get questions of, hey, that's all fine and dandy, but what if we need to get our own accidents, incidents, and violations uploaded into Tenstreet? Maybe we're new, or maybe we've been tracking it in another system, a compliance competitor, if you will, but now we want to get everything under the Tenstreet umbrella. How can we import that? In years past, we would have said, hey, that's difficult. Go ahead and manually add them in. That'll suck. But now we actually have a way around that. We have the importers tab in the safety management view now. So you can upload accidents, incidents, and violations. Now, these are CSV files, so they're just Excel sheets or whatever application you use to open CSVs. But when you click into it, it's going to be rather big. It's going to have a lot of data in there. So it's definitely a good thing to take with you and to keep open, maybe on another screen while you're getting your list of accidents together. Because there's a lot of opportunity for information in there, not only date and time of accident, but whether it's hazmat recorded, any costs accrued, roadway direction they were traveling, wind direction, what type of road they were on. Everything you can add in an accident, incident, or violation, it'll have those options in the CSV file. So you can get as detailed as we will allow, which is as detailed as we can get. So I don't want to make that seem like it's daunting for anyone, but I always like to point that out, that it is a robust CSV file. But once that hard work is done, that will allow all that information to be in Tenstreet. So it'll start showing up in your events, in your accident registry, you name it. That'll also work for those equipment accidents, incidents, and violations if need be. You can just leave the driver field blank, and then it'll go in under the unassigned events in there. And as you may notice, this is a new tab for us in here as well. This is where you can start tracking those events that were recorded on pieces of equipment. So if you did find out that, hey, maybe a truck got sideswiped in the yard, you don't know who did it, you just wanted to add that event to it, and then later on down the road, whether it's that day or later that week, some driver comes up, maybe it's Murphy Law himself, and he says, hey, boss, you know what? That was me. That was entirely my fault. You can go ahead and assign me to that accident. You do have the option to assign drivers to those events. So if you did want to assign Murphy Law to that, click his name and assign that driver. If you've ever used our CSA tools, it's very similar to linking a CSA event to a driver's profile or a telematics event to a driver's profile. So follows the same logic. That's kind of the beauty of Tenstreet. Though we may change, a lot of things still operate in very similar, familiar functions, which I, my friend, enjoy. So without further ado here, I know we do have a little bit of time left. Are there any other questions that have come in there, Allison?
Not that you haven't already answered, so you're doing great. I did want to check on the task management tool and show the new seasonal training that we had mentioned earlier.
Beautiful.
Yeah, perfect. So Miles is heading into task management, which looks pretty much the same, except there is a new tab on the very end called seasonal training. So right now, for instance, you could do a winter bundle. And basically, if you come in here, you can add seasonal rules, choose the bundles or the courses that you want to assign, and then you'll have a start and end month that you can do for that season. And this will assign out to the fleet. They can be made inactive if you're not ready, turn them on when you are ready. You can come in here and customize these as needed. So that's one of our newest tabs to the task management tool, aside from your regular Tenstreet training tab. Do you want to pop in there for just a second?
Yeah, for sure.
One thing I wanted to point out, before you used to just have the courses tab, this class catalog with the search bar on the top. This is also kind of a newer thing. I know that's been asked for because there was a lot in there. So this class catalog is a little bit easier to search, filter, find things, build a course. You can go in and just view it, and you'll notice it gives you a little breakdown of the time and the description, as well as the date that we last updated it. So we are really on top of these courses. We're adding them all the time. I think we have over 370, maybe probably more by this time, but tons of individual classes and pre-built bundles or courses that we have in there that you can use. And then you can also use those on the seasonal training side as well. So yeah, like he's showing you there, you can always see it, be like, great, I want to add defensive driving. You just hit add to my courses, and now it's available to send out as a bulk assigned to your drivers. You can always go in and preview it, do all that good stuff. But yes, very good.
Yeah, I'm very happy about that one. That even just the photos in there gives you a good idea of what to anticipate. I like that update.
Yeah, that's a really nice one.
Beautiful. All righty.
Awesome.
Well, with that being said, if there's any other questions, feel free to ask them. If you guys are new to GoToWebinar, there should be a little questions tab in the toolbar that it provides you before you logged in. So if you do have any questions, feel free to ask them. Outside of that, that is the gist of our monthly featured product here with our updated safety features, how they tied into the recruiting side as well. I will pause real quick here just to see if any other questions will come in. But if not, then we can certainly let you guys go with a little bit extra time left in your day than you planned for. But it doesn't look like much is coming in. Allison, you seeing anything on your side?
Nope, not yet. I think we're good.
All righty, beautiful. Well, if you guys do have any questions, I know I oftentimes after a presentation have questions after the fact or later on that night. If I'm staying at a Holiday Inn when you're taking a shower, they come to you. That being said, and all dad jokes aside, if anything does come up and you guys do want to ask any questions, reach out to your account management team or even your advisor. Account management will always have some information to provide for you. That's account.managers@tenstreet.com. That's manager with an S at it. But reach out to that. That'll get you in touch with your account management team, no matter what side of the company that you may be on. But reach out to that. We'll be more than happy to help. We might even provide some additional links to knowledge base articles that could cover some information that we covered today. And we'd be more than happy to run through some additional demos if you want to get nitty gritty in there as well. I know, especially with Tenstreet Assistant, we've been having a big push on that. So let us know if you guys have any questions, but we appreciate you very kindly for taking some time out of your Thursday afternoon here. Hopefully it's beautiful where you are. I know it's beautiful here in Pittsburgh. So with that being said, hope you guys can go and enjoy that beautiful rest of your day and have a fantastic evening.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye.